Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 22 My Team Career Mode. This is episode number 102 today for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the season finale of Season 6. And it has been quite a journey to get to this point, as we have a 5-way Drivers' Title decider and also a Constructors' Championship to deal with as well. And if you did miss the previous episode at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one, because that involved probably the most mental last lap battle I've ever had on this game, and sets up, of course, this entire finale. But of course, it's been building the entire season from the very beginning, because this hasn't been any ordinary My Team Career Mode season. Of course, we have been driving for Scuderia Ferrari against our own team, and it started off in the best possible way, bringing a victory to Ferrari for the first time in so long in this career mode series on this game. It was victory down under at the Australian Grand Prix, but it was certainly a weird feeling racing against my own team to get to the top step of the podium. But in Season 6, the landscape of F1 had been changed. Aston Martin, Audi, even Gulf Porsche Williams, now part of the top 5 teams, and the kind of usual suspects of Mercedes and Red Bull and McLaren relegated towards the bottom. But as you can see, I left my team in very capable hands of Felipe Drugovich and Sebastian Vettel, as the Brazilian took victory at the Bahrain Grand Prix. My team now led by Sebastian Vettel as a driver/team principal in his last season for good in Formula 1, as he will retire at the end of this episode. But you can see we have very much left our team in capable hands, and Drugovich showing how far of a driver he's come since Season 1 with victory at Bahrain. Miami, misery for us. We were looking to maybe battle for the race win when our engine went pop, and it was the first signs of the struggles we would face being a Ferrari driver, as we had to probably get used to walking to the back of the garage and thinking, where did it all go wrong? But it wasn't all doom and gloom, because whilst I was DNFing out of the Miami GP, Ferrari still picked up the win, our second win of the season as a team. It was my teammate Max Verstappen on the top step, but already maybe the seeds of doubt were there of why he was able to win every time I DNF'd. Monaco came and went in a flash. Lap 5, a premature end, and a crash with the then championship leader Fernando Alonso, and maybe that was the beginning of a little frosty relationship with Fernando across teams. He won his first race of the season, Aston Martin's first race victory here, and it was a 1-2 at the Monaco Grand Prix. They had arrived, Aston Martin were here to stay, and Fernando Alonso early doors was in this championship fight. Our misery continued. 3 0-point finishes in a row, our second engine failure of the season at the Red Bull Ring, from the lead of the race in wet conditions on lap 8, and surprise surprise, Max Verstappen went on to win his second race of the season. 2-1 to him in the win tally for Ferrari, as Verstappen and myself grappled for supremacy at Ferrari as the #1 driver spot. But that teammate rivalry was also kind of needed, because we needed to be a both strong pairing versus aarava Archer Racing. Drugovich and Sebastian Vettel proving to be a consistent pair of drivers, but we had an immediate answer by winning the Dutch Grand Prix in a pretty awesome fashion versus Verstappen, stealing away the race win after a safety car came out and allowed us to get ahead under a pit stop under that safety car. We had won in the Lion's Den, Verstappen's backyard, in front of his home fans, but Lady Luck would balance that out with an absolute tragedy, as we had our third engine failure of the season at Silverstone. But it was still British excellence around Silverstone, as Lando Norris took his first victory for his new team at Audi, as they proved to be a team that would be instrumental at being quite annoying for the rest of us in the championship fight. Then came Spa, and there's something about Spa and Sebastian Vettel on this game, as he took his first win of the season. But we're certainly no stranger to seeing Sebastian Vettel flourish in AAR. How many victories victories as he had for our team. And he won in Spa, and he won in Monza. He took back-to-back victories going to the first of our Italian Grand Prix and proved that he was still in the fight even in his last season. In the background, some controversy with Fernando Alonso spinning me round at Monza, not giving me any room, but we bounced back in the best possible way by dominating, demolishing the competition at Imola in the sprint and the full Grand Prix. Victory there and the top step of the podium. We had done it. We had achieved the highest you can do in Ferrari, winning an Italian Grand Prix for this Italian team. Oh, so sweet. But that feeling would come crashing down at Singapore as I played hardball with Fernando Alonso, turning into the apex just as he had done before, giving him no room, and it backfired. Both of us with damage, and Mick Schumacher, through a pretty crazy Singapore Grand Prix, came through to win for Gulf Porsche Williams. It seemed like truly now the two backmarker teams of Aston and Williams were now fully converted to top teams. At Canada, we had a smokescreen show for everyone behind us as we were leading by nearly 2 seconds, looking to dominate the Canadian Grand Prix, and for the 4th time, our engine went pop and we had to walk to the back of the garage and, surprise, surprise, watch Max Verstappen take victory whilst we were sat in the back of the garage. Verstappen took the victory in Montreal. Alonso, ever present and consistent along with Sebastian Vettel on the podium, solidified our 5 protagonists for the championship. Myself, Verstappen, Vettel, Drugovich and Fernando Alonso. But it was Sebastian Vettel who would really make a mark at Mexico. Whilst the championship leader going into that race, Fernando Alonso, for much of this season, had probably his worst race in the season. 0 points, a crash and a front wing breakage, and it meant that he suddenly lost the lead and Vettel was maybe in the driving seat. But Brazilian magic at the Brazilian Grand Prix brought his teammate Felipe Drugovich right back into the frame. He was so far out in P5 and ended the Brazilian Grand Prix, having won both the sprint and the full Grand Prix, to lead the Drivers' Championship going into Jeddah. Everything was changing race to race ever since Mexico, and the same thing would happen in Jeddah. Verstappen with a star drive to take the victory, and on the last lap of the Grand Prix, Drugovich went from 2nd place down to P8 with a lockup that could cost him the whole championship potentially. We took the podium, Alonso climbed to 5th, Sebastian Vettel 6th, and as Verstappen basked in the glory of P1, that set up what we have going on into Yas Marina. A 5-way championship fight. We lead the way by 4 points to Max Verstappen. Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel level on points, a few points back, and then Felipe Drugovich relegated back down to P5 in the championship, undoing all the good work he did at Sao Paulo, but there's still plenty of opportunity on the table as he's only 7 points behind me, which means pretty much all 5 of us, if one of us took victory, that might be enough to win that person the World Championship. So all cards are out and the gloves are certainly going to be off. After Sao Paulo, Aarava Archer Racing led the Constructors' Championship. It was only with that 1-3 at Jeddah did we bring it back for Ferrari, so we need to try and finish off that job today as well as we try and bring at least one of these trophies to Maranello. The whole reason why Ferrari signed us away from our own team to finally bring some success to the Italian outfit. So that's the entire story then of how we have arrived here at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix on this Saturday, ready to go for qualifying one final time in Season 6, and both championships on the line. And Abu Dhabi, well, in recent, times, especially on this game with the new layout, has really turned up to be a very spectacular finale. Last time out, we finally got our first ever Drivers' Championship on this game in Season 5 after 4 long seasons of not being able to do it. can we bring home the bacon for the second time? It's going to be tough, and, you know, we've had our fair share of engine failures, so I'm not going to lie, it is in the back of my mind of having a repeat of Season 4, where we were so close to victory, and we had an engine failure in the last race that snatched away the driver's title from us. But let's just pray to the F1 gods that this Ferrari engine holds on out for one last race weekend. It's been pretty good for the last couple, so let's hope. But first and foremost, we have to get through the sessions to get through to that crucial top 10 shootout. And, you know, the pressure's on. All 5 of us need to make sure we get in. And there's been a few times where that's not been possible in recent races. And also, potentially, you never know. I don't know. There might be engine penalties to come into play for the AI. You know, we don't know about that until we get to the full grid, so we'll just have to see about that one. So that just means for us, it's the focus is on ourselves, just trying to maximize the performance, and we're doing just that by being first place. It's a 1-2 for Ferrari in Q2, but every single one of us gets through into the top 10 shootout. Both Aston Martins actually make their way in, so at the crucial point, is Alonso's teammate Hulkenberg going to be there to play a factor and help out his teammate, trying to secure his 3rd Drivers' World Championship potentially? Both Gulf Porsche Williams in there, just showing how much of a threat they've been this season. Lando Norris's sole Audi, and both AAR cars just make it through. Drugovich maybe on the back foot, maybe a little bit dejected from what happened at Jeddah, but him and Vettel need to keep their heads high for one final race. For Drugovich, you know, try and put that mistake behind him. For Vettel, well, he's in another championship fight, could be going for his 7th world title. Either way, it's going to be a pretty special final race for him in Formula 1. But for us, what can we do in this final qualifying session? It's P2 for now, splitting both Williams, who seem very rapid. By the end of this session, we're down to P5. We've gotten 2 greens, but we're actually in the red right now in Sector 3. Narrowly going to gain some time on the exit to just go just a tiny smidge quicker, but that will only just solidify us in P5. So Verstappen has out-qualified us in the crucial final qualifying of the season. Lando Norris, though, takes all the glory in the final race on pole position for tomorrow's Grand Prix, alongside Magnussen in the Gulf Porsche Williams, really showing that the landscape did change this season with an Audi and Williams on the front row. Verstappen on the second row, alongside the wrong Aston Martin, Hulkenberg up in P4, Alonso down in P7. So Hulkenberg really will have to probably help his teammate out. Alonso needing to make up some places. Drugovich P6, and it's a disappointing qualifying session for Sebastian Vettel. He just didn't get the lap in P9, but there's still plenty of opportunity tomorrow. Plenty of overtaking seen at Yas Marina here compared to real life. So from P9, don't count out Sebastian Vettel. How many times this season have we seen him storming through the positions? But for us versus Verstappen, at least ahead of us, we have some work to do to try and get the jump on him on the start. Let's go to the final race of Season 6.
It's time then for one final race in this year's Formula 1 World Championship. 2010 saw 4 drivers in contention for the title coming into this race, with Sebastian Vettel prevailing to become the youngest world champion to date. Is there one last sting in the tail awaiting us today? Well, it's time to find out. Here at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. The Yas Marina circuit is made up of 3.28 miles of track, featuring 16 corners with 2 very long straights. DRS zones going into the heavy braking zones of both Turn 5 and Turn 7 offer plenty of potential for overtaking. The circuit comes with its fair share of tricky corners, which will certainly test a driver's braking management. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, with Kevin Magnussen alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, the owner driver, Felipe Drugovich and Fernando Alonso, Mick Schumacher, Vettel, Gasly and Carlos Sainz, Bottas, Russell, Charles Leclerc and Hulkenberg. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Schwartzman, Oscar Piastri, Liam Lawson and Alex Albon, Tsunoda, Ocon, Perez and Daniel Ricciardo fills the last spot on the grid. which of these talented drivers will come out on top today. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Your teammates got a chance at winning the Drivers' Championship today. Keep out of their way and don't battle them for position.
What? What have I just heard? What have I just heard? I'm speechless. I'm the one leading the championship. I'm the lead Ferrari in the Drivers' Championship. In my final race for this team, because I've always maintained we're going back to our own team from next season. We came here to do a job for one season for Ferrari, but in our final race for them, they've shown their true colours. My thoughts about Verstappen mysteriously winning every single time we've had an engine failure maybe has some water to it, because what was that radio? Let him by, don't fight him for position. We're the ones 4 points ahead of him in the Drivers' Championship. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That is Felipe is faster than you message. And the race hasn't even begun. Unreal, unreal. I can't believe it. Well, the gloves are off. I can't promise anything, Ferrari. I still have a job to do in both championships, but unlike in Jeddah, I don't think you'll be seeing me helping Verstappen out as much as I did around Saudi Arabia. Someone who has helped their teammate out is Hulkenberg, because we're on the same row as Verstappen. Hulkenberg has mysteriously taken a penalty in the final race to elevate his teammate one position to P6 in a crucial final race. So everyone is taking every last bit of advantage they can get, because this means business. We've got 11 world championships between us in this fight. Verstappen 2, Alonso 2, Vettel 6, and myself 1, Drugovich 0. And by the end of today, one of us will be adding another one to that tally. Because here we go then to 5 red lights to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Lights out, and we're underway. It's a shocking start for us. So much wheel spin. Alonso up into P3 from P6 on the grid. Insane start for the Spaniard. He's even going for P2. The Aston Martins had the greatest start ever this season as we try and dive back down the inside of Felipe Drugovich to at least nick back the position we lost to him. But so much wheel spin, and we're still getting the wheel spin in third gear on the exit of that left-hander, as it's now 3 wide behind us. Sebastian Vettel comes through for the double overtake on his teammate and Mick Schumacher, maybe even the triple overtake. Vettel's now side by side with us. Vettel and Alonso both absolutely on it. Vettel side by side with us now, using a bit of battery to get ahead just before a virtual safety car comes out. But Alonso, what commitment from him to be up in P3, and Vettel as well, to be fair to him, getting a couple of positions up from P9, both of them absolutely on it. And you can tell what's at stake. Another championship to add to the history for all these drivers, and everyone is driving at the maximum level, and we certainly didn't at the start there, and we got punished for it. So we're still in P5 then on the restart of this virtual safety car. Magnussen now is the new race leader in the Gulf Porsche Williams ahead of Lando Norris. So Alonso, Verstappen, myself, Vettel in P6 for now. Drugovich tried to maybe change that as he's down to P7. Schumacher P8, Hulkenberg and Gasly round out the top 10. But lap 3, the focus is on the leaders as Norris and Magnussen are side by side. It's Audi versus Porsche in a manufacturer fight for the lead of this Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Norris on the inside, maybe gets the better exit. No, the Gulf Porsche Williams has the legs maybe in a straight line to come back at him. But here comes Fernando bloody Alonso with the double overtake on the inside of both of them. Alonso all of a sudden leads this Grand Grand Prix, Magnussen squeezed out heavily by all his competitors, and he's gone from P1 down to P4. It's a howler for him, but in the last race, Alonso comes good again. He's had a few shaky races. That shocker at Mexico with the crash to score 0 points, but when it matters, Alonso is there, and he's driven like a madman. He's gone from P6 to P1 in 3 laps as we go up to P4 now. Easy overtake on the Williams, who actually pits for damage, I suspect, having made contact with Norris. Lap 4 on to 5, though. Norris is all over the back of Fernando Alonso, and the pressure is on, and we are keeping with them. Safety car is out, though. Early safety car, and Vettel dives into the pit lane. The rest of us, we were too far gone. All of us were too late into the last corner to dive into the pits. Drugovich has decided not to come in because he could have definitely followed Vettel in, but not wanting to do the double stack. But Vettel comes in. It's not for damage. That's his strategy. Vettel wants to get a free pit stop. He's put on another set of medium tyres. So does Vettel reckon it's going to be a 2-stop today, or does he actually reckon he just has that much pace to make up that extra pit stop under the safety car? And this is why the safety car came out. Battling going on between the Renault and the Andretti car. It's Sergio Perez who gets squeezed out, and it's actually a crash with Piastri behind him that brings out the safety car, as Piastri's car is totaled into Sector 3 and crashes with one of the Repsol Haas cars. So that is why we've got the full course yellow. But the rest of us haven't pit. We're all being stubborn, and we're all going to continue on and go to green on lap 8 with the same set of tyres, and we are hounding Verstappen and playing him in his own game, being almost side by side as we go to green, and we're looking to try and make the overtake on Verstappen. He's trying his best to block us, but we have got the room on the inside to go, and we're up into P3 now with a little bit of clean air to chase after Norris and Fernando Alonso, who are leading 1 and 2 respectively right now in this race. Lap 9 closing up now to Norris. The Audi, a little bit of a shake on the rear end. Tyre wear coming in now for all of us, but we've got the momentum and plenty of battery to swoop through on the left-hand side and get up into P2, hopefully. Norris will try and come back at us. We're going to be harsh on the defence to make sure we book in the P2, and now we've got a free run at Alonso to go for this race lead, the race win that would secure us the Drivers' World Championship. We've got a long way to go, though, but let's try and get this in early and control the race from there. Alonso squeezes us right to the wall, but we keep our footing. We've gone wide, though, into the next left-hander. Bit too deep and eager to keep throttle on, and Alonso just gets the position back, but we've actually ended up with DRS for the second time now because of that, and it's worked in our favour. Alonso overtaking us has actually helped us in that scenario, as we're up into P1, as Verstappen overtakes Norris to get up into P3. So both us Ferraris are heating up now at the right time of the Grand Prix as the tyres start to go off a little bit, but we've gone deep into the left-hander. Alonso, a tough customer, comes back at us. It's now a drag race to the next corner, but Alonso and Verstappen both have DRS. I do not. We're a sitting duck, and it's going to be 3 wide as Verstappen goes the long way round. Alonso cuts the curb. Verstappen vaults over the curb and makes contact with us. Verstappen has crashed into us over the curb, didn't even try to take the racing line, and now we've got damage. We've got damage on the front wing as Verstappen has decided to take the destiny of this race into his own hands by being so aggressive there. Just wasn't needed. And he's crashed into us and broken our front wing. Look at the room. He had room to try and make the corner normally. He just went full send to the orange curb, and it was always going to take his car up into the air and vault into mine. So I feel like that was done a little bit on purpose from his side of the garage. I mean, we heard the team radio. Let him by. Don't fight him for position. Clearly, Verstappen and the team here that are now servicing my car were absolutely fine with that move. As we come in now, lap 12, and we are changing our front wing. I'm not doing what we did in Jeddah and just sucking it up. This damage was far worse than the damage we had at Jeddah. It was a yellow right-hand side of the front wing, so we had to change that. So we've come in early for our first pit stop of the day. Probably our last one, really, because we've gone onto hard tyres. So we are looking to go to the end of the Grand Prix then from lap 13. Meanwhile, whilst we come out for that outlap, Verstappen is under pressure from Alonso, and Alonso looking to retake the lead of the Grand Prix. Verstappen now actually loses 2 positions, maybe, as Norris comes back into it, trying to go for the double overtake himself in the Audi. Verstappen, in the end, manages to squeeze him out. Oh my God, come on. Oh, come on. What else is going to go wrong for us in this race? We've now got a broken rear wing, is that? No DRS? I mean, it's a good thing we're not anywhere near any cars, but I swear to God, by the time everyone makes their pit stops and that's not fixed, that will be another thing to add to my annoyance with Ferrari going into this final race as the safety car's out for the second time. No! Oh, the Renault of Ocon spins in Sector 3, and that's... Oh, that's such a bad time safety car. No, no, no. We have to drive to a delta because the leader hasn't caught up to the safety car. So we have to stick to the delta, and it means Verstappen comes out ahead of us. Alonso way out ahead of us. I actually reckon I would have overtaken Verstappen in the pit stops if it wasn't for that safety car. But because it came out and didn't catch these leaders, we all had to still drive to a delta across the start-finish line. So I couldn't get ahead of Verstappen in the pits. Otherwise, that would have been a bit of karma and balancing out. You know, he crashed into me, but we end up ahead of him because of the undercut. So that's just so frustrating. Just like in Jeddah, the safety car came out just after I'd made the pit stop. So how much bad luck do you want in one race? Or 2 races, in fact, from the last one. But so it means now, with the other leaders pitting finally under the safety car, Fernando Alonso remains in P1 then. Drugovich, pitting under the safety car, actually jumps all of us and is up in P2. So just like in Jeddah, Drugovich has benefited from a safety car and finds himself once again up in P2. Verstappen's down in P4, I'm P6, Sebastian Vettel P15 as he pit again under that second safety car. So Vettel's risk and gamble going on to mediums for a 2-stop has not worked for him in his final race in Formula 1, as we are now going to get going again, going to green, and we're even more aggressive with Mick Schumacher in the Williams on the restart, because I absolutely want to get ahead of him into turn 1, as we need to try and light up these tyres with the clean air ahead of us to try and keep up with Verstappen and ultimately Drugovich and Alonso, because now we've got 3 cars ahead of us that could win the World Championship that we're going to try and fight and reel in as Verstappen goes round the outside of Valtteri Bottas. He's the odd one out. I don't think he's actually in our race. He's still going to make his pit stop because, yeah, he's on medium tyres. But he's actually ended up re-overtaking Verstappen. He's going to block him into the next corner and he's going to inadvertently help us. We go a little bit deep on purpose. Give Verstappen a little love tap there. Channeling our inner Nico Rosberg and getting up into P4. And now Verstappen is under pressure from Nico Hulkenberg, as now, why would I do Verstappen any favours for the rest of this race? We send it down the inside of Bottas. We're up into P3, and remember, because we've been on these hard tyres a little bit longer than the rest of the guys here, they've rubbed it in a bit more, so hopefully we can catch up a bit quicker to Drugovich and Alonso as they still try and rubber in those hards. Meanwhile, Sebastian Vettel, don't count him out just yet. He's up into P6 now from P15 in the next 2 laps. This is from lap 17 to lap 19. Vettel's done a master stroke up into P5 as he takes Daniel Ricciardo. The Andretti boys having a stonker of a race. Ricciardo P7, Tsunoda P9. Sandwiched in is Mick Schumacher there, but Vettel's up into P5 then as we are closing in on Drugovich. We've dropped Verstappen. He's got no pace on these hard tyres, it would seem. Or maybe he's just got some damage perhaps from vaulting that curb. when he went into the side of me. But either way, it is now a three-way fight for the top 3 positions. Alonso leading the way as he has done since we got underway from the safety car. But this is it then, 8 laps to go, and we're into the fight with Drugovich and Fernando Alonso. We have to overtake both of them and win this race to win the Drivers' World Championship. Otherwise, at the moment, as it would stand, Alonso would be crowned a triple world champion in Formula 1. But we're closing in, lap 22. We're finally maybe a bit close enough to have a go at Drugovich with DRS and plenty of battery dumping going into the next long left-hander. We sling one down the inside. We're a little bit understeery, make a bit of contact with Drugovich. He comes back at us. It's going to be side by side in through to the next right-hander, but Drugovich gets spooked off the racing line, and we get up into P2, and now it's just myself versus Fernando Alonso. The fight that's been there for most of this season, to be honest, between us, as there's still some great racing going on behind between the Andrettis and the Red Bulls, but we're within 1 second of Alonso. This is our time. We've got to strike whilst the iron's hot. Our tyres are rubbered in. Alonso's maybe not so much, as there's a spin. Is that going to be another safety car? Ocon is span, I think. Oh, he spun right in front of Alonso. What just happened? Alonso's out. We've crashed into him. 5-second penalty. Alonso's out. Alonso is out of the Grand Prix from the lead because Ocon, his old teammate from Renault Alpine, has taken him out. We've collected him as well because we were going at such a pace into turn 1. I had no time to react, and we crashed into him because you take that left-hander pretty much flat out, so you're pelting it at 6th gear. So I had no reaction time, and then we collected the rear end of Alonso. He was already out of the Grand Prix before we even crashed into him. So, to be honest, I don't know what the 5-second penalty is about because he was out anyway. I was just a passenger in that. But I can't believe it. The race leader was taken out by a spinning back marker. Ocon, Alonso's old teammate. We know it didn't end well for them in their partnership at Alpine, and it certainly is not going to get any better now because he's just taken him out in his most important race ever. And all of a sudden now, Felipe Drugovich is in the driving seat for this World Championship. We've got 7 laps to go, or 6 laps rather, 5 laps by the time we come round under the safety car, and Drugovich leads. Verstappen is now up into P2. We're in P3, but we have to come in not only for our penalty, but also our front wing was taken off, hitting Alonso. So, all of a sudden, we've gone from maybe looking to set up a move on Fernando for the race win, for the championship win, to now, well, I don't even know where we're going to end up. We're going to be behind even Vettel. We're going to be outside the top 10, I think, at this rate, because Bottas and Norris may just catch us. So we've changed our front wing. We've served a 5-second penalty, but we have strapped on a U set of soft tyres. We're out in P11, just ahead of Magnussen, who used to be the race leader. How things have changed this race. So now we're going on to lap 26. We're going to have 4 laps left of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Drugovich is P1, Verstappen P2, Vettel's in P8 ahead of me. They're all on hard tyres. We've got a couple of people on mediums like Norris, so they may be a bit of a difficulty to overtake compared to the hard tyre runners who are going to be feeling the tyre wear. And we're on used softs. Can we do anything to get up the order on much quicker tyres? Well, we're going to green. We've not gone side by side with Norris because I thought on mediums he actually might help us be a bit quick and cut through the traffic. Ocon spun again. Ocon spun at turn 1. He's held up everyone into the first turn, and so from like P7 downwards, all of us have bunched up. We've overtaken Bottas and Norris in the first few turns, but then Perez locks up. What is going on in this race? Norris has re-overtaken us, Bottas as well. What is going on in this race? We gain 2 positions, we lose 3 positions. It's all kicking off. We're now boxed in. We're literally boxed in like it's a NASCAR race in between Norris, Vettel and Bottas. We're going to slow it down, take it easy, go down the inside of Bottas. Norris fights Vettel, and like I said, the medium tyres for the Audi are helping him out. But Vettel's got this slipstream, and we're going to stick in behind Vettel on purpose because I want to try and follow him through on the outside maybe. But we open the door up and Sainz comes through, makes a bit of contact with ourselves, but there goes Vettel. Unfortunately, I couldn't follow him through like I wanted it to, but this is why there was a bit of a hold up at turn 1. What is going on with both Renaults? Ocon spins it for the 3rd time in this race. He must have some permanent damage with the first spin he did, and it has just meant his car's so unstable. But Perez as well was having issues. We've overtaken Norris now on the inside of the last corner. We're up into P8 now. I can't keep track of where we are. And we're behind Vettel. We'll overtake him with a lot of battery use. And we've got clean air ahead of us that are catch up to 2 hard tire runners of Albon and Ricciardo, and the Red Bull Ford and the Andretti. We've got a load of cars that we haven't really even seen much of this entire season, really, to be honest. But now, for the first time, really, we're having to properly race the likes of Albon, Ricciardo. I think even Tsunoda and Liam Lawson are ahead in the other 2 Red Bulls and Andrettis. We're making quick work of them because they're all either on hards or mediums that have had a fair few laps through them, of course, and we're on, well, a fresher soft tyres, so we're making easy work of Rick Bobby to get up into P5, and next up is Lawson and Tsunoda, 2 and 4 seconds up the road respectively. But we're going so quick on these softs that we're going to catch Lawson at such a rapid pace, because these guys have all been on these tyres since the 2nd safety car period, not the 3rd one we just had. So their tyres are screaming out, and mine are looking like a fresh daisy right now as we're sitting purples and going fastest of all, and looking to now catch Tsunoda to maybe limit the damage. But I think in terms of the damage of the championship, it may be well and done, as we're going to overtake Tsunoda on the inside on the last lap of the Grand Prix to get up into P3, but we're 4 seconds behind Verstappen and Drugovich. But there's still a fight between them two. Verstappen with a desperate dive down the inside. I think it might be all over for us, but there's still a championship to be won for either Max Verstappen or Felipe Drugovich. The Brazilian leads the way, but Verstappen comes back at him again to try and go round the outside. The two are neck and neck through the next left and right. Drugovich seems to have the better exit as the AAR car gets back up into P1 narrowly. The two of them now with a drag race to the next left-hander. Surely Drugovich is in the better position. Verstappen still tries it round the outside, but the Brazilian is going to hold through for P1 and maybe the championship win. No, Verstappen goes wide and lets us through into P2, and this changes everything because we are now 7 points in deficit to Drugovich, but we've got the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. So by 1 point, I think we've got this. Miracles do happen. Verstappen going wide has just given us our 2nd World Championship.
Yes! We've done it! You are the world champion! Oh, what a win! What a season! We are going to celebrate hard tonight, my friends. Bring the car home. Nice one.
Oh my God. Verstappen and Drugovich battling for the championship lead, and at this stage they are legitimately both within a chance of winning the championship. If Drugovich wins it, he wins the championship. If Verstappen wins it, he wins the championship. Both of them giving each other no room to work with, committed as ever into the final sector. But Verstappen there breaks his front wing and it gets caught on his tyre, and that's why he went wide and was so slow. And so with us up into P2, that is a scenario Drugovich did not need. He needed Verstappen to be in 2nd, and ironically, him defending so hard and Verstappen driving into him, breaking his front wing, has meant that he won't win the championship, because we, in 2nd place and the fastest lap, only lose 6 points to Drugovich, which means we win it by 1 point.
Well, it's certainly been an incredible year for Formula One, and our drivers have all pushed themselves this season, making it one of the most compelling years of racing in history. There can only be one champion, however, and here they are now, our new Formula One World Drivers' Champion. Victory today then, but bittersweet emotions, I'm sure, as the championship slips through their fingers. Even so, what a fantastic final race of the season this was. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
That finale was unbelievable. The championship winner technically could have been Alonso. He was crashed out. We broke our front wing. 5-second penalty. Extra pit stop under the safety car. We came back from P11 to P2 in a matter of 4 laps on those softs. P3, I thought that was the maximum. I was ready to concede defeat. Drogovic was going to win the championship, or Verstappen. But they're fighting, and that slight bit of contact with Verstappen that broke his front wing, that saw him go wide, just allowed us to get the crucial one position to mathematically seal the championship for us. I can't believe it. I was fully ready to be like, okay, we have to accept it. We fought back hard. P11 to P3 is pretty impressive, but Drogovic or Verstappen are winning this. I was convinced. I can't believe Verstappen went wide like that in the last sector. And so Verstappen in the end gave the position to me, ironically, compared to what our engineers were telling him or telling me to do. And so we win our second ever Drivers' World Championship on this game. And we do indeed bring the trophy to Maranello. 2 of them, the Drivers' Championship and the Constructors' Championship. With a 2-3, we outscored Drogovic and Vettel in that race, and we bring a Constructors' Championship to Scuderia Ferrari for the first time in a long while. Unbelievable ending. That was insane. My brain hurts. Guys, if you have enjoyed this finale episode, nay, the entirety of Season 6, then be sure to hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. And we will be back next week with Season 7, my return to my own team. Till then, hope you enjoy your day. Goodbye.